And I remember having a 15 million view month and going like, all right, like I'm good. This is just going to keep going in this direction. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to pay for my parents to have a sick house. Like I'm going to do all this crazy stuff. And I quickly got brought back down to earth by the kind of ebbs and flows of YouTube.
And this is always a fun question to ask people that do YouTube full time is how would you describe your type of content?
My content has changed a lot. Um, Back then it was definitely like challenge and group oriented content, and then as I progressed, I started doing. I would say I stayed in the challenge sphere of YouTube for a while, like 3 years or so. That's what we all kind of came up on. That's what Albo was built on, and so we all were doing our variations of that. So like I started doing science experiments and little things like that, and then uh, everybody had kind of like a little bit of their own niche within that challenge space. And then for the last 2 years, I would say unboxing and reviews. And then now I would say I don't know. I'm taking a break, so we'll see what I feel like uploading in the future. But I haven't uploaded on my main channel for a month for the first time in like 6 years, 5 years.
How does that feel? Does that feel weird?
It feels weird for sure, but it feels good at the same time. Yeah, I've been enjoying it.
So what like led to you deciding to take that break?
Well, one thing that was always very stressful about YouTube was having one kind of source of income. And initially, I remember when we first had our big kind of pop in, I don't know, maybe 2016 to 2017 was probably that year where I probably had like 100 million views that year or something like that. And I remember having a 15 million view month and going like, all right, like I'm good. This is just going to keep going in this direction. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to pay for my parents to have a sick house. Like I'm going to do all this crazy stuff. And I quickly got brought back down to earth by the kind of ebbs and flows of YouTube. But that can be quite stressful on your mind, like going through that roller coaster ride and having no backup. So I went from thinking like I'm good, my family's set, my friends are set, we're all going to be rich beyond our wildest dreams, to like, holy shit, this is going to be over tomorrow and I'm going to be broke and I'm going to have to go back to, working at the government or whatever it was I was doing before that, or back to managing the Lionels. And and then, things kind of went down and then they came back up again and they went down and they came back up. And over time, you get used to that up and down. But there's still always that thought in the back of your head that at any moment something could happen and this could just evaporate. And if that happens, like, what am I going to do? So over the last 2 years, especially during really COVID, I started trying to diversify and have different channels and businesses to take off the pressure from that one channel, so that one, if I don't enjoy it, I can stop it. And two, if something happens and it gets shut down or it stops on its own or people just stop caring about what I upload, it's okay. Like I have kind of a backup plan. And those finally started to work out. Some of those seeds that were planted finally started to grow. And now I have like the Tesla space would be the main one that is doing really well and has alleviated a lot of the pressure off of that channel and allowed me to take a step back and reevaluate, do I want to upload on that channel? What kind of stuff do I want to upload as opposed to what kind of stuff do I think people want to see? And basically come back to it with a more fresh kind of outlook as opposed to I need to do this in order to keep paying the bills and paying my staff and all those things.
How scary was it though to make that decision to take that time off? Because like you said, it's been 5-6 years of just consistency. So to make the decision to actually finally step away, like was that a scary decision to make?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I didn't come to it quickly. I've probably been thinking about it for like a year. And yeah, it's definitely an uneasy thing when there's something you've been doing for so long to step away from it. And that like a lot of your identity is kind of attached to, like you said at the beginning, Sean Callahan, more commonly known as Itsyeboi. Like that's who I am to a lot of people. online. But to me, I'm still Sean. So it's like there is that little bit of like a identity crisis you can go through sometimes. So it was hard to kind of let go of that side of me that a lot of people really like. A lot of people really love that side of me. They love that side of me some more than they like the Sean side. So as people, like as humans, we want that positive affirmation as much as we can get it. So it's kind of like saying goodbye to that. But it's what I think I needed to do because to an extent it can become a trap that you just get stuck in, and I had recognized that and wanted to get out, but it was definitely very difficult.
Is that weird where people like the Itsyeboi side of you more than the Sean side of you? Like, obviously it's still you, but it's almost like it's also kind of like a caricature of yourself at the same time. So like, is that a weird thing that you had to kind of work through as you started to grow on YouTube that, oh, people like Itsyeboi, but they might not necessarily be like fans of Sean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that it's like I didn't even know it was happening. It's
Mhm.
like I would say I didn't work through it as it happened. I just one day was like, oh, this is me now. Like to all these, some people don't even know my real name. They're my even my first name. And I say like a lot of times, YouTubers are basically like an either their best self or an over exaggerated version of their self most of the time on camera. It's still me, but it's just it's like hyper me when I'm, when I've had too much sugar or a couple coffees or something. That's what I'm like. But I'm not always like that. And people kind of have this image of you as being always like that. So it can be difficult to navigate and not get lost in this persona of who people expect you to be, or who, not even who people expect you to be, but who you think people expect you to be.
Mhm.
Um, I can't remember exactly how the quote goes, but it's something about like we wear a mask for what is it? The people. It's not for who we think we are, but it's for who we think other people think we are. And I'm butchering the quote, but I think it really like makes a lot of sense, especially in a scenario like the one that I was in, and any other creator or influencer is in.
And so kind of like unpacking that or even just running with that a little bit further is like when the cameras aren't off and you're just going out to eat or you're going to Walmart or to the mall, like how does that affect you? Knowing like people have a certain perception of you that's when the camera's on. But when the camera's off, like how much do you have to then kind of always make that persona a little bit of you when people come up to you? Like how does that work in everything?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of like you don't want to disappoint people when they see you and just be like, "Oh, what's up? Like, how you doing?" Like, maybe I'm tired or I'm not feeling up for it that day or something. And it's like, "Oh, this person, this is a exciting moment for them, and I don't want to ruin that." So, I would say you definitely find yourself putting on a better, like a bit of that video personality sometimes. Sometimes it's just not your day, sometimes you're just not having it that day, and it sucks. And sometimes you get checked a little where it's like you don't have the greatest interaction with someone, you're like, damn, that was a big moment for them, and I kind of blew it and I feel bad afterwards. But I think mostly I just try and be friendly. Like that's what I am normally. Like if you meet me in the streets or and you're a stranger or whatever it is, like I'm gonna try and be friendly and be nice. That's it. And so now that's more where I come from, where I'm not gonna be like over the top and super excited and like, maybe it's your boy personality. I'm just gonna be friendly, and whether you like it or not, that's just hopefully a decent enough interaction for them.
Are you able to now like see it coming when you know people start to recognize you in public? Like I remember still from the Dustin podcast where he's saying like Charlie's radar for that is just on another level. Like Dustin said they drive to dinner or something and they'd finally get seated at the patio and Dustin be like, "Oh, I think those people recognize us." And Charlie be like, "Yeah, I saw them before we even got in the parking lot." And like he's just able to pick them out so easily. Like you able to see them coming as well?
For sure. Yeah. You can tell. You can tell just by the way somebody looks at you. Like a stranger who's never seen you, they don't even really look at you. They'll cross over you. But for someone to even look and stop and look at you, that's just a completely random person, that's a moment of recognition. And so when you see that, it's like, okay, they probably know who I am. And then if you see that followed by the quick turn and starting to talk, it's like, okay, yeah, they're telling their mom or their dad or their friend, like, yo, that guy's this guy or whatever. So it's pretty easy to spot. And especially for Charlie. Like especially in his prime, was like one of the, if not the biggest content creator on YouTube for a little while. And he's also he stands out in a crowd. So I think he got it so much that his radar has probably had more experience picking it up than anybody else's.
Fair. Do you remember the first time someone ever recognized you?
Yeah, it was before I had my own channel. Me and Dave were in Rito. We were at the Rito shopping mall in the food court, and they came up to Dave, and he probably had like 20K subs or something. And this was when he was doing Beauty Guru, like troll videos. And it was two, like, I don't know, probably 15-year-old girls that were like, "Oh my god, I love your videos. Oh, I recognize you." And then that was basically it. And I remember being like, Dave being like, "Yo, they recognize you," because Dave had it a few, like, plenty times before, but I'd never had it. And so he was kind of like, "Yo, they knew who you were. They knew who you were." So yeah, it was fun for sure. It's an exciting feeling for a long time, for a very long time. And even still, it's like, it's still fun. It's still nice to like meet people who consume your content and are excited to see you, you know, like that's a pretty cool feeling.